Duke's reputation.
It's a Prince Andrew interview just released on how he ended his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Picked up by news outlets around the world.
Prince Andrew delivered a lot of I don't remembers in his first interview about the allegations.
Headlines as cringe-inducing as the hour-long TV special itself. Perhaps most controversial, that the Prince didn't regret his friendship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
The people that I met and the opportunities that I was given to learn, either by him or because of him, were actually very useful.
The question most people were left thinking was, why didn't his people try to stop him?
If someone seriously advised that he do that and suggested that they'd prepared him correctly, then of course heads should roll. If he superseded their authority and didn't listen to them and went ahead and did this interview off his own bat and thought he knew better, then perhaps this will teach him a lesson.
The Prince's bizarre responses were met with a mixture of incredulity and mockery. In categorically denying Virginia Robert Giuffre's claims that they'd slept together when she was 17, he said this photo could be fake.
It is a photograph of a photograph of a photograph. So it's very difficult to be able to prove it.
And how, on the night when she says she met him, he says he couldn't have because he was here taking daughter Beatrice for some dough balls in Woking. Viewers were left scratching their heads with more questions than answers. One of them being how a pizza party here, a place which is only open till about 10:30, would rule you out of being at a London nightclub which closes at 5 in the morning. Then there was the Prince's sweating claim, painting quite the mental picture.
I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at, and I simply it was almost impossible for me to sweat.
Sky News asked what that condition was called. A Buckingham Palace spokesman said they don't comment on medical conditions of the royals, adding that the interview speaks for itself. Almost a decade, making the royals more relatable has been a priority of the Clarence House press team. It's worked with the younger royals now credited with single-handedly modernising the monarchy. But in 60 minutes, with every word and facial expression open to interpretation, Prince Andrew's interview has revived old arguments that the royals remain worryingly out of touch.
I have no recollection of ever meeting this lady.
In particular, critics argue there can be no excusing how the Prince didn't express any sympathy for Jeffrey Epstein's victims.
He managed to portray himself as the victim and to erase the victims of Epstein. Even at the end, when he was asked, was there anything else he wanted to say? He couldn't think of anything. And he really hadn't spoken about them at all, except when forced to.
To put it politely, it's hard to see how Prince Andrew can see this as a win. Described by one PR crisis consultant as like watching a man in quicksand. Rather than silence his critics, the Prince and his people now have quite a bit of cleaning up to do. Katie Spencer, Sky News.
Well, our reporter Jenny Longdon is at Buckingham Palace for us this evening. And Jenny, of course, the royal family completely dependent on public opinion. How worried do you think they will be about what the public will make of all of this?
Well, this was an extremely high-stakes gamble for the royal family to allow Prince Andrew to go on camera for nearly an hour to defend his reputation following his involvement in the Epstein scandal. And in that time, he was questioned over a number of issues, as we heard, his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein himself and those allegations that he had slept with one of the accusers of Jeffrey Epstein's, who said that she was forced to have sex with Prince Andrew back in 2001 when she was 17 years old. Now, Jeffrey Epstein has categorically denied those accusations, but his explanation as to why he couldn't have been there with her on one of the nights that she claimed they were together was because he went to a Pizza Express in Woking with his daughter, has been met with mockery online by members of the public, as has that claim that he couldn't have been in the nightclub with Virginia Roberts that night sweating sweating, as she described, because he had a medical condition which meant that he couldn't sweat. These are answers to questions that have been met with mockery by members of the public. Many saying they were hoping to hear more from him with regards to an apology to Epstein's victims, or, you know, some sort of remorse. But many feel that they didn't get that from this interview. And for Buckingham Palace, for the royal family, attempts to try and quell those headlines over his involvement with the Epstein scandal don't seem to be going away anytime soon.
Okay, Jenny.